Today I'm going to tell you why Nice feels so Italian, but when you look on a map, it appears in France. Nice, or Nizza, is a coastal city on the French Riviera in southeast France at the foot of the Alps. It is close to Monaco and the Italian border town of Ventimiglia. Originally, Ligurian tribes lived in the area of Nice, and then it became part of Roman Liguria until the barbarian invasions of the 4th century. The Franks overran Nice as part of the fall of the Western Roman Empire, making Nice part of the county of Provence in Gaul, which is now known as France. To learn more about La Bella Italia, consider subscribing. This was now a period of tug of war where Nice would be occupied by the Republic of Genoa, allied with the Republic of Pisa, some independence, the family of Savoy, which created the county of Nice separate from Provence, then the French and the Holy Roman Emperor. Nissard Italians, ethnic Italians, speaking the Ligurian language, lived in Nice and the surrounding county. In 1543, the siege of Nice by the Franco-Ottoman forces of Francis I of France and Barbarossa Hayreddin Pasha, Ottoman, blasted Nice into surrender. Barbarossa sacked Nice and took away slaves. In 1561, Emmanuel Philibert, Duke of Savoy, adopted the Tuscan dialect as the official language in the county of Nice. In the 17th century, Nice opened a free trade port, and the volume of trade now increased dramatically. This only made Nice more of a prize catch. Nice was again under siege by the French of Louis XIV of France in 1705, battling against the forces of the Marquis of Caraglio on behalf of Victor Amadeus II of Savoy. The Treaty of Utrecht in 1713 confirmed that Nice should be ruled by the Duke of Savoy. Between 1744 and 1748, both the French and the Spanish controlled this area. Nice was conquered in 1792 by the First French Republic Army of Revolutionary France. Nissard Italians opposed this occupation, and this was known as barbatism, a civil resistance against the abuses meted out by the French occupying troops. Some local bandits also disingenuously justified their actions as barbatism. There was heavy French immigration to this area in the 18th century, and this began to change the nature of Nice. The county of Nice remained part of France until 1814, when it passed to the Kingdom of Piedmont-Sardinia due to the Congress of Vienna. Victor Emmanuel II of Piedmont-Sardinia and Napoleon III of France agreed in 1860 that the county of Nice would be ceded to France. This was the bitterly high price for French support in the Second Italian War of Independence. Lombardy, as a result, now joined with Piedmont-Sardinia, part of the wider unification of Italy. The cessation of Nice was confirmed by a referendum, whose outcome was vigorously disputed due to its tiny majority by Garibaldi, who claimed electoral fraud. Many Nissard Italians fled Nice, approximately 11,000 and a quarter of the population of the city, after it was annexed to France in 1861. They emigrated to the new Kingdom of Italy, and this was known as the Nissard Exodus. The remaining population of Nice was forced to adopt the French language, and the Italian language was marginalised. Italian newspapers were closed, and some Nice citizens changed their surnames to sound more French. This stoked resentment which would explode in years to come. The Nice citizens who rejected this forced French adoption were known as Italian irredentists and were led by Giuseppe Garibaldi, who was born in Nice. The Nissard Vespers of 1871 were 3 days of riots by the citizens of Nice, demanding that the county of Nice be reunited with the Kingdom of Italy. They flooded the streets and shouted "Viva Nizza! Viva Garibaldi!" France flooded Nice with 10,000 troops. Numerous Italian irredentists who supported Italian Risorgimento were expelled from Nice. Garibaldi refused an administrative position in Nice and abandoned his hometown as a protest against the French response to the Nissard Vespers. Nice is a World Heritage Site, being a long-standing winter resort town. The mild Mediterranean climate of Nice made it popular with the English, German, Austrian and Russian upper classes and aristocrats in the late 18th century. They would spend their winters here, and they included Queen Victoria, her son Edward VII, Frank Harris, Friedrich Nietzsche and Anton Chekhov. The particular soft light of Nice inspired a number of notable painters, including Marc Chagall, Henri Matisse. The old town of Nice remained largely Italian until 1930. As World War II broke out in 1939, Nice became a city of displaced foreigners fleeing Eastern Europe. The travellers were seeking onward passage to the French colonies, North Africa and the Americas. The Vichy regime of 1940-42 collaborated with Nazi Germany, adopted anti-Semitic policies and began to deport Jews to internment camps. Between 1942 and 43, Nice was occupied by the Italian army. Ezio Garibaldi, grandson of Giuseppe Garibaldi, was a leading proponent of this revived Italian irredentism. Resistance to Nazi Germany increased after the Italian surrender in 1943. Between December 1943 and July 1944, members of the resistance were tortured and executed by the Gestapo and the French militia. A further exodus of Nissard Italians happened after the Second World War, as Italy's defeat in World War II caused more territory to be ceded to France. Well, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like this video and subscribe so that others can see it. Click here for some more videos you may be interested in.